My guardian and boss at Nova Future clinked her glass and said, "Show everyone your little gift." So I opened the Project Future folder and watched her whole empire collapse while she just stood there shaking. They say lakes are supposed to be peaceful, calm, healing, even. But that day, standing under a string of fairy lights by Lake Mendota, I felt anything but. My name's Kayla Hart. I'm 17 years old and, technically, an intern at my guardian's startup, Nova Future Technologies. But mostly, I was just the kid everyone forgot about, until today. Nadine Reynolds, CEO of Nova Future and my legal guardian since I was 9, clinked her champagne glass. "Everyone, can I get your attention?" Her voice sliced through the chatter, drawing the scattered team together. Investors, engineers, PR people, all wearing branded windbreakers like we were at a summer camp for tech millionaires. I swallowed, smoothing the front of my presentation tee. It had the Nova Future logo, the one I had designed 2 years ago but never got credit for. And now, Nadine continued, flashing a camera-ready smile, our youngest and brightest, Kayla, has something special to share. A few polite claps. I stepped up, laptop in hand, heart thudding so hard it shook my voice. "Hi, everyone," I said, forcing a smile. "I just wanted to say, congratulations. Nova Future is changing the game in AI, and honestly, it's been an honor to be a small part of it." Some more clapping, this time more distracted. Nadine watched me with that look she always wore when she was trying to seem supportive but couldn't quite hide her boredom. "I put together a little something," I went on. "A custom folder for the team drive. It's called Project Future. A small gift to celebrate all the work we've done, and everything we're about to achieve." I thought it was a good pitch. Thought it sounded confident. Thought maybe, for once, Nadine would look proud. Instead, she laughed. Just a little. Sharp and quick, but loud enough that it caught. "A custom folder," she said, tapping her glass on the table like it was a microphone. How adorable. Our very own intern/therapist, always needing to gift us her feelings. Some people chuckled, that uneasy kind of laugh when you're not sure if it's safe not to. I stood there, frozen, feeling every set of eyes shift toward me. Some pitying. Most amused. A few relieved it wasn't them. Kayla has always been. Nadine smirked, letting the sentence hang, letting them fill in the blank. Needy. Awkward. Extra. I laughed too, pretending it didn't sting. Pretending I didn't see my dream of being taken seriously vanish right there by the picnic tables. "But seriously," Nadine said, still smiling, still smug. "It's important to encourage passion projects. Even when they're personal." More nervous laughter. I took a breath. Steady. Calm. Play dumb. "I really think you'll want to open the folder," I said, my voice light, cheerful. "There's something important inside." Nadine raised an eyebrow, amused. "Is it another emotional letter about how much you love the company?" The group laughed harder this time, relaxing. The hierarchy re-established, Nadine on top. "Me a joke?" "Nope," I said brightly. "Just open it." She nodded at one of the interns manning the projector. "Fine. Let's see Kayla's grand tribute." I stepped back, slipping my laptop under my arm. My hands were steady now. Steady and cold. They had no idea. Inside Project Future was the end of all of this. The projector flickered to life, throwing a massive version of my desktop onto the canvas screen nailed between 2 pine trees. There it was, a bright blue folder labeled Project Future. Nadine sipped her wine, looking pleased with herself. "Let's see what little Kayla cooked up for us," she said, her voice dripping condescension. The intern clicked. The folder opened. And the retreat went silent. Instead of a cutesy slideshow or a thank you note, there were subfolders. Dozens of them. Each one stamped with labels. Falsified investor reports. Manipulated demo videos. Ghost and NDA settlements. Questionable venture funds activity. Screenshots popped up automatically, emails where Nadine authorized edits to AI testing footage. Private Slack chats plotting out how to spin failed prototypes as deliberate pivots. Wire transfers flagged by internal audits, and buried. I heard someone near the back whisper, "What the hell?" Then came the final subfolder, audio evidence. The intern looked at Nadine, hesitating. She was pale now, the blood draining from her face. but her pride still clung to her like cheap perfume. "Go ahead," she said tightly. The file played. Nadine's voice filled the clearing, a little scratchy from the cheap conference room mic but unmistakably hers. Of course the demo was rigged. They need to see results. If the AI stumbles, we tweak it behind the scenes. Investors just want a show. Everyone does it. It's not fraud, it's storytelling. The words hung there. Heavy. Rotten. No one laughed this time. The investors at the front stared up at the screen like they were watching a building collapse in slow motion. A few of the engineers shifted awkwardly, glancing at each other, realization dawning. Nadine's daughter, Nova Future's glossy public face, stared down at her hands, not moving. I stood off to the side, my laptop tucked tight under my arm. I caught Nadine's eyes for a second. She looked like she wanted to scream, to rush the projector, to claw the words off the screen. But she couldn't. Not here. Not now. Instead, she just stood there, trembling slightly, trapped by her own spotlight. I gave her a small smile. Not a cruel one. Just, finished. Then I turned on my heel and walked away. No one stopped me. Not one word. Just the sound of the lake wind rustling through the trees and Nadine's empire beginning to splinter. That night, I sat by the water's edge, laptop resting on my knees, watching the moon ripple across the lake. It almost felt peaceful, if I didn't think too hard about what was happening back at the lodge. Funny how fast things can fall apart when you stop holding them up. I was 9 when my mom died. One car accident, one black-suited social worker, and just like that, my whole life got rerouted. Nadine was there at the funeral, crying harder than anyone. She hugged me too tight, promised she'd always be there. She had been my mom's best friend since college, at least, that's what everyone said. I barely remembered her back then, just that she smelled like expensive perfume and wore high heels even in winter. "You'll stay with me," she had said, smoothing my hair back. "You're family now." At first, I believed her. She moved me into her house, a sleek glass and concrete place in Madison that always felt too cold no matter how high the thermostat was. She set up a bedroom for me, filled the bookshelf with all the books Mom had loved. It seemed kind. It was supposed to be kind. But little things started piling up. Like how she always introduced me to guests as my ward instead of my daughter. Or how every family photo she hung on the walls cropped me out. Or how every big holiday photo shoot featured her real daughter, Alyssa, front and center, with me shoved somewhere in the blurry background. I wasn't part of the story she wanted to tell. I was just extra. As I got older, the isolation tightened like a belt. Nadine was busy building Nova Future back then, pitching investors, crafting her public image as this genius tech visionary. At home, she barely noticed me unless she needed something. "Can you transcribe this meeting? Can you proofread this grant proposal? Can you organize my Dropbox, Kayla? You're so good at tedious tasks." I wasn't an intern yet, I was 13. But the free labor started early. At first, I didn't question it. I figured if I worked hard enough, if I made myself useful, she'd really see me. She'd love me the way she loved Alyssa, glowing and effortless. That never happened. Instead, Alyssa got the shiny new car at 16, the media training, the photo ops at tech conferences. I got maybe next year and we're focusing on Alyssa right now. But I was there. I saw everything. The cracks in the timeline. The product launches that didn't match the internal beta results. The patents filed for tech that didn't actually exist yet. I wasn't supposed to notice. Except I did. Quietly, carefully, I started saving things. Screenshots. Versions of presentations that didn't match the public ones. Audio clips where engineers expressed doubts Nadine later silenced. It wasn't a plan at first. Just a reflex. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that the reality she spun for the cameras wasn't real inside those glass walls. By the time I was 16, my folder was bigger than her official archives. I didn't know exactly what I was saving it for. Maybe I thought if I collected enough truth, she'd have to acknowledge me. Or maybe, deep down, I knew this day was coming. Maybe I had been building my escape all along. It happened at lunch. One of those casual company lunches where everyone pretended we were just one big happy family, clinking glasses and smiling for Instagram stories. I was stacking chairs when I heard them, Nadine and Alyssa, tucked into a corner booth, speaking low. They didn't know I was nearby. Or maybe they didn't care. "You're going to kill it in the interview," Nadine said, flipping through a packet of notes. "Just stick to the script. Talk about your passion for AI. Your leadership in developing the algorithm." Alyssa laughed. "I didn't even write half that code." "You don't need to tell them that," Nadine said, brushing it off. "It's under your name. That's all that matters." My stomach twisted. I knew exactly which algorithm they meant, the predictive modeling system I had spent 2 years perfecting. The one that landed Nova Future 3 new venture partners last quarter. The one I had quietly written line by line while Alyssa spent her time posing for glossy magazine shoots. They were going to give her full credit. Like I didn't exist at all. Later that afternoon, I sat at my desk, fighting the sick feeling curling in my gut. I opened the shared Google Drive to double-check some files, and there it was. An open folder labeled Public Disclosures, Final Edits. Not password protected. Not even hidden. Inside were drafts of investor pitches, not just polished up but completely rewritten to make it sound like Alyssa had led every single innovation from day one. My name wasn't mentioned once. And deeper in the folder? Email threads. Private conversations between Nadine and the marketing team. Kayla's contributions are proprietary. No public credit necessary. Focus all founder narrative on Alyssa for brand consistency. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. It wasn't just neglect anymore. It was theft. When the next quarterly update went out, Alyssa would be crowned the genius visionary. I would be airbrushed out of history like I was never there at all. That night, sitting cross-legged on my bed with my laptop glowing in the dark, I made a decision. I wasn't going to swallow it. I wasn't going to stay invisible. Not this time. I opened my encrypted archive, the one I had been quietly building for years, and started pulling the final pieces together. The NDA settlement letters. The fake performance benchmarks. The doctored demo videos. The bank statements showing creative investor payouts. I even added a voice memo I'd secretly recorded 6 months earlier, Nadine drunkenly bragging to a few board members about how easy it is to fake innovation when no one in Silicon Valley actually knows what they're buying. By sunrise, the file was complete. Project Future. A time bomb wrapped in a shiny blue folder. And all I had to do was hand it over. It was close to midnight when I heard the front door slam hard enough to rattle the windows. I didn't flinch. Just kept packing my duffel bag, folding clothes into neat stacks on my bed. I had almost zipped it shut when Nadine stormed into my room. "You little brat," she hissed, voice low but trembling with rage. "You ruined everything." I turned slowly, facing her. Her hair was a mess, her makeup smeared under her eyes like bruises. She didn't look like the glossy tech CEO anymore. She looked exactly how she had made me feel for years, desperate, cornered, small. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't cry. I just said, "I didn't ruin anything. You did that yourself." "You ungrateful," she started, then caught herself. She squeezed her hands into fists at her sides, trying to steady her breathing. "I took you in when no one else would. I gave you a home, a future. And this is how you repay me?" I laughed, a quiet, disbelieving sound. "You didn't give me a home. You gave me a closet to work from and called it family." "You're being dramatic," she snapped. "You had everything. Education, access, opportunity." "Access to what?" I cut in. "Watching your real daughter get handed everything I built? Scraping together a stipend just so I could pay for your company's server fees?" She flinched. That got her. "Yeah," I said, stepping forward, my voice steady now. "Remember that? You hired me as an intern for experience, but somehow my stipend ended up covering 2 months of Nova Future's operating costs. I have the invoices, Nadine. I have everything." She shook her head, like she could physically will my words away. "You're confused. You don't understand how business works." "I understand perfectly," I said coldly. "You used me. Just like you used everyone else." The bravado cracked then. She let out a strangled sob, wiping at her face. "Please," she whispered, and for the first time in years, she didn't sound powerful. She sounded pathetic. "We can fix this. You don't have to destroy everything. Think about what you're doing. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No fear. No guilt. No loyalty. I thought about it, I said. For a long time. You don't understand, she pleaded. The company, it's everything. Without it, we're nothing. No, I said, picking up my duffel bag. Without it, you're nothing. I was never part of the equation, remember? She reached for me then, desperate, but I stepped back. You made your choice the day you decided I was useful, I said, voice low. Not loved. Not wanted. Just, useful. I slung the duffel over my shoulder and headed for the door. Behind me, she called out, half pleading, half threatening. You'll regret this, Kayla. I paused at the threshold, looking back one last time. No, I said quietly. I think this is the first thing I'll never regret. Then I walked out, shutting the door on everything she had built, and everything she had broken. I didn't take much with me. Just my laptop, my duffel bag, and enough cash to last a few weeks. The Uber ride to my friend Tori's place was quiet, except for the buzz of notifications blowing up my phone. I didn't check them. I already knew what they said. By the time the sun cracked the sky over Madison, Nova Future Technologies was trending, but not for anything they would have wanted. Hashtag fraud future. Hashtag Nadine exposed. Hashtag fake AI. Articles flooded out of every news site, TechCrunch, Wired, even the New York Times. Screenshots from Project Future were everywhere, dissected and reposted by tech ethicists, YouTubers, and journalists hungry for blood. Investor groups announced investigations. Angel funds pulled out. Nova Future stock, what little of it was public, tanked overnight. By noon, half the engineering team had resigned. By 2 o'clock, Nadine's daughter Alyssa had wiped her social media clean. No more press-ready photos. No girlboss captions. Just silence. Nadine? She didn't post anything at all. I sat on Tori's lumpy futon, wrapped in a blanket, scrolling through it all with a strange kind of numbness. Not happiness. Not sadness. Just emptiness. You okay? Tori asked, pushing a mug of coffee into my hands. I think so, I said. My voice sounded raw. Tired. You're a freaking legend, she said, plopping down next to me. Seriously. The way you set it all up. Mic drop. I gave a weak smile. Yeah. Feels legendary. In reality, I was broke. Exhausted. Homeless, technically. I had no job lined up, no college acceptance letter tucked into a drawer. But for the first time in years, there was nothing weighing down my chest. No tightness. No waiting for the next betrayal. Just air. Just space. I sipped the coffee slowly, letting the silence stretch between us. Outside the window, the world kept spinning, delivery trucks rumbling by, kids biking to school, neighbors walking their dogs. Like it didn't even notice a tech empire crumbling down. Like maybe it didn't care about Nadine Reynolds at all. And somewhere deep inside me, for the first time in a long, long while, I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't tied to her anymore either. 2 weeks later, I sat in a coffee shop off University Avenue, an old hoodie pulled up over my head, watching the cursor blink on my laptop screen. The title bar said, "The future they didn't want you to see." It wasn't enough to crash Nova Future stock. It wasn't enough for Nadine to lose investors. People needed to know the full story, all of it, straight from someone who lived it. I posted the expose anonymously. No fancy website, no PR team, no filters. Just the raw truth. How Nadine had built a company on doctored data. How she had pushed employees to fake test results under threats of firing. How she had stolen my algorithm and handed it to her daughter like a gift-wrapped trophy. I included documents. Audio clips. Screenshots. Everything carefully redacted to protect the innocent, but not Nadine. I hit publish, closed the laptop, and waited. It didn't take long. Within hours, the post went viral, first on tech forums, then on Reddit, then everywhere. Ethical AI communities shared it. Journalist Twitter blew up. Even YouTubers started making reaction videos, their thumbnails plastered with Nadine's frozen, smiling face under headlines like the collapse of Nova Future, lies, greed, and a 17-year-old whistleblower. My phone vibrated nonstop, even though no one knew it was me yet. Messages flooded into the anonymous email account I'd linked at the bottom of the post. Some angry. Some heartbroken. Some thanking me. And then, something I didn't expect. Other people started coming forward. A woman named Lila emailed first. She said she used to work under Nadine at an older startup, one that folded quietly under undisclosed legal settlements. Then a man named Daniel. He had interned for Nadine a decade ago, only to have his research credited to someone else. One by one, the stories piled up. She promised me mentorship and left me with debt. She made me sign an NDA after screaming at me in front of the board. She told me if I ever spoke out, no one would believe a nobody over her. The final email that night stopped me cold. It was from a woman named Araceli. Nadine did this to my niece too, she wrote. You weren't the first. You just finally had the courage to do what the rest of us couldn't. I sat there, staring at the screen, letting it sink in. All those years I thought I was alone. Invisible. Crazy. I wasn't. I was part of a pattern. A system built on silence and fear. One that had gone unchecked because no one had ever stood up long enough to make it collapse. Until now. I closed my laptop slowly, feeling something settle inside me. Heavier than pride. Lighter than guilt. It wasn't just about me anymore. It never had been. The burner phone buzzed against the scratched formica table where I was eating cheap pancakes at 2 in the afternoon. Unknown number. I didn't even hesitate. I already knew who it was. I answered and didn't say a word. For a second, there was just static. Then Nadine's voice, thin and ragged, broke through. You destroyed my legacy. No hello. No small talk. Just that. I sat back in the booth, cradling the phone against my ear. I could hear the wind on her end, the distant sounds of traffic. She wasn't calling from a safe boardroom anymore. She wasn't anybody's visionary now. You destroyed it yourself, I said calmly. The moment you started using people to build it. Silence. Heavy. Tense. Then came the begging. Kayla, please. You don't understand what you've done. You think you're free now? You're not. You're just a stupid kid with no safety net. I smiled, bitter and tired. Funny. That's still better than being a liar with a fake empire. Her tone shifted, flipping in a second, from pleading to threatening. If you think you're going to get away with this, you're wrong, she hissed. You think these people care about you? They'll move on. They'll forget your name. You'll be nothing. I've been nothing to you for years, I said quietly. I'll survive. Another long beat of silence. Then a soft, broken whisper. I gave you everything. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I said, no. You took everything you could and called it love. The line went dead. I stared at the phone for a minute, then dropped it into the coffee cup, watching it sink and fizzle out for good. A couple hours later, another message came, this time to my anonymous inbox. From Alyssa. One line. I hope you're happy. No apology. No understanding. Just the same cold entitlement that had ruled my life for so long. I didn't reply. I didn't even open it again. Instead, I curled up on the futon with my laptop, sipping lukewarm coffee while the city buzzed outside. An unread email blinked in my inbox, different this time. A real opportunity. Subject, Tech Voices Incubator Grant, application approved. Message, Kayla Hart, your work has inspired a generation. We'd like to offer you a full grant to develop your projects under our Independent Innovation Program. I sat there, blinking at the screen, feeling the walls of the past finally collapse behind me. For once, nobody was stealing my ideas. Nobody was speaking over me. Nobody was telling me who I had to be. It was just me. My work. My future. And this time, it was mine alone.